Betrayal never comes from enemies first. It comes from people you trusted enough to lower your guard around. Machiavelli understood this brutally well. In his world, kingdoms did not collapse because of obvious enemies standing outside the gates. They collapsed because someone inside opened the gate. A friend, an ally, a trusted advisor. Someone smiling while secretly calculating your weakness. And centuries later, nothing has changed. Human nature only changes clothing. The betrayal still comes the same way. Slowly, quietly, emotionally. That is why Machiavelli never taught blind trust. He taught observation. He taught distance. He taught power through awareness. Most people think betrayal is bad luck. Machiavelli would say betrayal is often ignored evidence. The signs were there. The inconsistency was there. The envy was there. But emotion blinded judgment. And emotion is exactly what betrayers depend on. Machiavelli wrote, "Men are so simple and so obedient to present necessities that one who deceives will always find those who allow themselves to be deceived." That is the terrifying part. Betrayal succeeds because people desperately want to believe loyalty is permanent. But Machiavelli never believed loyalty was permanent. He believed loyalty was conditional. Conditional on advantage. Conditional on fear. Conditional on benefit. And the moment those conditions change, many people change with them. That is why he warned rulers never to rely entirely on affection. Because affection shifts with convenience. Today, someone praises you. Tomorrow, they resent your growth. Today, they support your vision. Tomorrow, they quietly compete with it. Human beings are unstable when ambition enters the room. And Machiavelli observed this repeatedly among powerful men. The dangerous thing about betrayal is that it rarely begins with hatred. It usually begins with comparison. Someone watches your progress too long. Someone notices the respect you receive. Someone feels small standing next to your ambition. And slowly admiration transforms into resentment. Machiavelli understood that envy is one of the most hidden weapons in human nature because it smiles while it waits. That is why some people clap for you publicly while privately hoping for your failure. They want access to your light without accepting the discipline it took to create it. And this is where most people make their first fatal mistake. They reveal too much too early. Machiavelli believed information was power. The more predictable you become, the easier you are to manipulate. Yet people expose their fears, plans, weaknesses, and emotions to anyone who makes them feel temporarily understood. Then later they wonder why betrayal hurts so deeply. But Machiavelli would ask a brutal question. Why did you hand your weapons away in the first place? He understood that trust without strategy becomes vulnerability. That does not mean become cold-hearted. It means become aware. There is a difference. Awareness studies patterns. Emotion ignores them. Have you ever noticed how betrayal often feels obvious after it happens? Suddenly every warning becomes clear. The disrespect you ignored. The strange comments disguised as jokes. The subtle competition hidden behind support. Machiavelli would say the signs were visible long before betrayal arrived. But comfort blinded you. Because people often choose emotional convenience over uncomfortable truth. And betrayers understand this weakness perfectly. They know most people avoid confrontation. They know most people fear losing relationships. So they push boundaries slowly. First, they test your reaction. Then they test your silence. Then they test your weakness. Machiavelli understood that betrayal grows wherever boundaries are weak. That is why powerful people throughout history learn to observe actions more than words. Words are cheap during calm moments. Loyalty is only revealed when circumstances change. Machiavelli wrote, "A prince who is not himself wise cannot be wisely advised." In other words, if you cannot read people clearly yourself, no one can save you from deception. Wisdom begins when you stop listening only to what people say and start watching what people consistently do. Betrayers reveal themselves through patterns long before they reveal themselves through action. The problem is most people are too emotionally attached to see it. They mistake attention for loyalty. They mistake familiarity for trust. They mistake history for honesty. But Machiavelli separated emotion from analysis. He believed survival depended on it. Imagine sitting at a table where everyone smiles at you while secretly measuring your value to them. That is closer to reality than most people want to admit. Some people stay close only while you are useful. Some remain loyal only while you remain weak enough not to threaten them. And the moment your confidence grows, their energy changes. Machiavelli saw this constantly in politics. Allies became enemies overnight when power shifted. Friends became traitors when ambition appeared. Because ambition exposes character faster than comfort ever will. This is why Machiavelli respected caution more than blind optimism. He understood that trust should be earned slowly and questioned constantly. Not because everyone is evil, but because pressure changes people. Fear changes people. Desire changes people. And power changes people most of all. The brutal truth is this. Many betrayals could have been avoided if people paid attention instead of chasing emotional reassurance. Betrayers often reveal themselves in tiny moments, in how they react to your success, in how they speak about others behind closed doors, in how quickly they disappear when you struggle. Machiavelli would say these are not small details. These are evidence. Human nature leaks through behavior, no matter how carefully words are controlled. And once you truly understand this, your entire perspective changes. You stop trusting instantly. You stop oversharing emotionally. You stop confusing closeness with loyalty. Instead, you begin observing quietly, strategically, like Machiavelli himself. But understanding betrayal is only the beginning, because spotting betrayers is not enough. The real challenge is learning how powerful people deal with them once they are exposed. And Machiavelli's answer to that question is far darker than most are prepared to hear. The most dangerous betrayer is not the obvious enemy. It is the person who learns your weaknesses while pretending to care about your wounds. Machiavelli understood this deeply because he spent his life watching powerful men destroyed not by force, but by misplaced trust. Kingdoms did not fall overnight. They fell slowly through loyalty given to the wrong people. A ruler would trust a smiling ally, ignore the warning signs, and then one day discover that the knife was already in his back long before he felt the pain. Machiavelli saw betrayal as a law of human nature, not an accident. That is why his philosophy sounds cold to emotional people, because emotional people want reassurance. Machiavelli wanted awareness. He believed most betrayals happen because people confuse kindness with loyalty. But loyalty is not measured by words. It is measured by pressure. Anyone can appear loyal when things are comfortable. Anyone can support you when your success benefits them. But the real test begins when envy enters the room. Machiavelli understood that envy changes people silently. A person can admire you for years and still secretly resent what you become. That resentment grows quietly because pride refuses to admit it openly. And over time, admiration becomes comparison. Comparison becomes insecurity, and insecurity becomes betrayal. This is why some people celebrate your failures more passionately than your victories. Your struggles make them feel safe. Your weakness makes them comfortable. But your growth forces them to confront their own stagnation. Machiavelli would say this is where masks begin to crack, because pressure reveals intentions that comfort hides. Most people never notice this transformation early enough because they are addicted to emotional certainty. They want to believe the people around them are genuine. They want to believe loyalty lasts forever. But Machiavelli never believed in permanent loyalty. He believed people move according to advantage, fear, ambition, and survival. And once you understand that, you begin to observe human behavior differently. You stop listening only to compliments. You start studying reactions. Watch how people react when you succeed unexpectedly. Watch how they behave when others respect you. Watch how uncomfortable some people become when your confidence increases. Machiavelli would say these reactions expose more truth than conversations ever will, because human beings can control their words more easily than their emotions. A betrayer often reveals themselves in moments they think are invisible, in delayed support, in forced smiles, in subtle disrespect disguised as humor, in curiosity about your plans that feels too intense. Machiavelli believed intelligent people observe these details carefully because survival depends on pattern recognition. The average person ignores patterns until betrayal becomes undeniable. But by then, the damage is already done. One of Machiavelli's harshest lessons is that trust should never be given quickly simply because someone appears emotionally close to you. Emotional closeness can be manufactured. Loyalty cannot. Some people study your personality not to understand you, but to use you more effectively later. They learn what makes you insecure. They learn what earns your sympathy. They learn how to lower your guard. And once your guard disappears, manipulation becomes easy. Machiavelli saw this repeatedly in political courts, where smiling faces often hid dangerous intentions. That is why he valued caution more than emotional comfort, not paranoia. Awareness. There is a difference. Awareness watches quietly before committing deeply. Awareness notices inconsistencies. Awareness understands that repeated behavior matters more than emotional promises. Machiavelli would say that people often reveal their character through how they speak about others. Someone who constantly betrays the trust of others will eventually betray yours too. Someone who enjoys exposing secrets will one day expose yours. Yet people ignore these warnings because they assume they will be treated differently. But Machiavelli understood something brutal about human nature. Patterns repeat. Character repeats. And betrayal often follows familiar habits long before it becomes personal. Think about how many people regret ignoring their intuition. Deep down, they sensed something was wrong. The energy felt strange. The loyalty felt conditional. But they silenced their instincts because they feared appearing suspicious or difficult. Machiavelli would call this weakness disguised as politeness, because betrayers rely heavily on your fear of confrontation. They depend on your hesitation. They survive through your willingness to excuse behavior that should have been questioned early. That is why boundaries matter so much in Machiavelli's philosophy. Weak boundaries invite hidden disrespect, and hidden disrespect eventually becomes open betrayal. Powerful people understand this clearly. They do not reveal everything about themselves immediately. They do not trust words alone. They study consistency over time. Machiavelli believed patience exposes truth naturally because false loyalty cannot maintain itself forever. Eventually, ambition interrupts the performance. Eventually, envy leaks through the mask. Eventually, selfishness reveals itself under pressure. You stop chasing approval from everyone around you. You stop needing emotional reassurance from people who have not earned deep trust. You begin protecting your mind, your plans, and your vulnerabilities more carefully. Machiavelli never taught hatred toward people. He taught understanding of people. And understanding human nature gives you power because it removes illusions. The illusion that everyone wants the best for you. The illusion that loyalty always survives success. The illusion that closeness automatically means honesty. These illusions destroy more lives than enemies ever do. That is why Machiavelli believed observation was one of the greatest forms of protection. The person who sees clearly suffers less surprise, and the person who suffers less surprise becomes harder to manipulate. But there is still something even darker Machiavelli understood about betrayal, something most people never realize until it is too late, because the most skilled betrayers do not attack openly. They slowly weaken your judgment first. They influence your emotions. They shape your perception. They make you doubt your instincts while pretending to protect you. And once that happens, betrayal becomes almost invisible until the damage is complete.